What's up, everyone? Welcome to 3 out of 10 Anime Fans recommend you check out this podcast if you ever get reincarnated into another world, aka 3 out of 10 Anime. Today, we have a very special episode planned. All of us just walked out of the second SAO movie, Scherzo of Deep Night. We're excited to talk about it. Really quick, if this is your first time joining us for the podcast, welcome. This show is all about having fun conversations so that we can rank anime based on standard scales so they can be compared, contrasted, and recommended. Normally, we have a section where we talk about our personal enjoyment, what we rate the show for our own scale of 1 to 10. Then we have a technical assessment where we go through a rubric of 4 different categories and we rate the show to see how it stacks up technically. Tonight, however, since we just walked out of the theater and it's getting a little late, we're going to cut it to just the enjoyment section this time, but go check out some of our other episodes. Also, we need to shout out another podcast. We actually met some of the hosts at the theater, started talking. It is That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Podcaster. So go check out their podcast. They were there at the movie with us. If you are watching us, hello. We were happy to meet you and grateful you're here watching. So here's how the show's going to work. We're going to start out, we're going to go around the room, and we're each going to give our first impression of the movie in one sentence. And then we're going to say whether or not we think you should watch it. Then we're going to go into our personal enjoyment rankings. So we're all going to rate it on a scale of 1 through 10 based on how much we enjoyed the movie. And then we'll just have a conversation about the things we liked, we didn't like, and then we'll put a bow on it for the night. Okay, we're going to go and get started. My name's Brett.
I'm Skyler.
We are your hosts, and we're jumping in with our wonderful guests tonight. We have Braydn, Bridget, Andrew, Sonny, and Meagan. Meagan's first time joining us on the podcast. Welcome. Super glad that you're all here. This is going to be a fun conversation, especially since we just left the theater minutes ago. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Meagan, do you want to go first?
Okay.
Recap your feelings of the movie in one sentence.
In one sentence. I wanted to see more boss girl Asuna. Yeah, that was my want, but it was not to be. And then what was?
Do you think people should go watch the movie?
I mean, I'm a sucker for SAO, so if you liked SAO, yes, watch it. I mean, you get to see more Kirito and Asuna and a few other new characters that you don't know about because they didn't exist before, but they're fun. But yeah, no, if you like SAO, it's worth the watch, but it's just not, it was not what I was expecting.
All right.
And then my rating?
No, that'll be later. We'll go to Sonny.
Okay, cool.
One sentence.
More rehash of Sword Art Online. I mean, always action-packed, of course, but yeah, Asuna, let us down. That's it.
Sky.
I guess I'm going to have to break the mold a bit. I'm going to say that I was actually kind of satisfied by the movie, and it was just more of what I wanted from Aincrad SAO.
All right. Do you think people should watch it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, I didn't say that either.
Oh, do you think people should watch it?
I think if you like Sword Art Online, yeah, you should definitely watch it. I mean, yep, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll say that for my one sentence, the best part of SAO is Aincrad. So anytime I'm in Aincrad, I'm happy. Maybe not as happy as other times I've been in Aincrad, but I'm happy. That's my one sentence, and I think you should go watch it, for sure.
Well, not to jump on the bandwagon, but I think my one sentence for this movie would be, it was a very pleasant diversion full of SAO action that fell a little short of what I usually expect from SAO. That said, if you like SAO, I would recommend it. I mean, I enjoyed it, even though it didn't quite measure up to, like the first 14 episodes of SAO or the first movie in my opinion. It was still enjoyable. I still liked it. I still had a good time.
All right, Bridge.
My one sentence is, it was a bit of a disappointment that confused me, but I enjoyed it for what it was, I guess.
I guess.
And do you think people should go watch it?
I do think that you should go watch it. Just go into it, knowing that it's kind of, I don't know. I feel like we can probably talk about this later, but I feel like it kind of deviated from what I thought the movie trilogy was going to be. So.
Braydn.
All right, crew. If you guys are lovers, I'm going to say right now, you're going to hate this part of the room. I hated that show so much.
Wow.
I haven't been this upset about an anime since that time I got
Slime?
Well, Slime, yes. But I was thinking about the other movie, the
Bunny Girl.
Bunny Girl. Yeah, the Bunny Girl movie. This was horrid for me. And no, absolutely do not go watch it. It breaks so many things about the core show. I'm not happy. This has been wretched tonight.
Braydn, I am really curious to hear your deeper dive into this.
Oh,
now.
yeah.
I want you to convince me to hate it.
This much prepared because we just came from watching it, so I don't
Yeah.
have my notes, but Yep.
So, from this point forward, it's going to be spoiler city. So if you haven't seen the movie yet and you don't want spoilers, pause the episode, go watch it, or don't.
Don't.
But just know, spoilers are going to abound from this point forward. Also welcome our other guests, Gunther and Chance.
Yeah,
for
they're
the
being very
episode.
needy because we just got home.
Yeah.
so.
Okay. All right. Let's start talking about our ratings 1 through 10, and then let's talk about what we liked and didn't like. Let's go the other direction. Braydn, how would you rate the movie? 1 through 10?
gotta
On
look at my
personal
list.
enjoyment. Like
Personal
how much you
enjoyment.
liked
Yeah,
it.
personal enjoyment. We're not doing technical tonight.
Okay.
Personal enjoyment. If you guys have watched me before, you know that if something offends me, I give it a 1. There's nothing that says this doesn't fit that criteria. This is a 1 out of 10 anime
Oh
for me.
my
100%.
God.
1 out of 10 anime are shows I would not finish on my own if it wasn't for doing a review or something. And has offended me in some way that I think makes it warrant something that's just boring. Because boring ones are my 2s, offensive ones are my 1s. That's what this is for me.
Alright.
Dang. All right. Bridge, what do you rate it?
I'm waffling because there was a lot about it that I didn't like that I probably agree with Braydn on about how it messes with the original show, which I really don't like. But it didn't have anything in it that I found awfully offensive that I would, in my personal ratings, would give it lower than a 4 or whatever. So I don't know. I feel like it was pretty mid. So maybe a 5.5 or something.
Oh.
It wasn't, nothing grossly offended me about it or anything that I hated. It's just, it didn't feel like canon, I don't know.
Yeah.
So it bothered me.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And wait, so a 5? What's a 5 to you?
Oh yeah,
Like
so
what is generally a
Okay, I
5?
need to
a
look.
5 is either a show that had enough things that I liked and didn't like that it just balanced out in the middle, or a show that was just completely middle of the road, meh. So this one kind of had the thing where it was like and didn't like, because I like they said, anything with Ironcrad I like to watch, but it also had stuff that I feel like didn't make any sense and confused me with the main story and how are they going to do that? And so I feel like, yeah, that was kind of the area that it was in.
Okay. I was waffling. My rating is slowly coming down, though.
No, stay true.
All right. So that said, a 1 show for me is a show that I stop watching. I will start on the first episode. I may make it past 2 episodes. If it's a movie, I may make it past the first 20 or 30 minutes, and that's it. I'm out. I'm done. A 10 has to have a significant impact on my life. It's got to be something I would love to rewatch. It's got to be something I would binge. And a 5 is I don't care if I finish it or not. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I just don't care. There was enough in this that I enjoyed, and I wanted to see it through to the end. That said, it didn't hit the spot for me that SAO normally does. I think I'm going to give it a 6 right now. That may change, but I don't think it's going to change much.
Okay. All right. I think I'm also at the 7 range. And I say also, I think I'm a little, I'm thinking about a 6, but I think I'm a little higher. So for me, maybe a 6.5. So for me, a 6 or a 7 show is a show that I enjoyed. I had a good time, but there were some things that really bothered me about it. For me, a 5 show is one that I like may or may not finish at all, kind of like you're saying. I definitely wanted to finish this, so I think like a 6 or a 7, somewhere between there.
Keeps going up, Skyler. So
It's gonna go up again.
Okay, all right.
So I'm actually going to give it an 8.5.
All right.
And so for me, my 8.5 and my upper ratings is essentially based off of will I watch it again alone or will I watch it again with others? And so with an 8.5, it's between that range of where I would watch it on my own, but definitely I'm watching it again with other people.
Okay.
And so the other thing between the 9 and the 8 is that with the 9, I really enjoyed it, whereas with an 8, I still enjoyed it, but there were some problems that I had. And so it's kind of right between that range. So 8.5.
All right, Sonny.
I think I'm gonna give this probably a 7, maybe 7.5. I mean, a 7 for me is I like the show, I want to know more. An 8 is I like the show, I need to know more and cannot stop watching. This one had a lot of hit and miss for me, like things like I want to know more of the story and stuff like that, but do I want to continue watching it through the I don't know, some points I don't care for. But I mean, I think it's up there. So I think it's I mean, anything that counts as isekai, shonen, it really hits at least a 7. So I think at least 7.5.
Nice.
The
Okay.
Isekai free pass.
Yeah.
The Sony pass.
All right, Megan.
Okay, so I'm like at a 5.5, similar to Bridget. So my 5 show is a show that I didn't really like or dislike and would not rewatch. But this was a little bit better than that. So it's like close to my 6, which is a show that has enough good things going for it that I kept watching, but it did not always keep my attention. There were a few times during this that I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna fall asleep. Trying to pay attention. And I was like, okay, fast forward, let's get through this. I just want to get to the good stuff. So 5.5. Like it was definitely not like a show that I disliked. And there were a lot of good things that I liked, but there were a lot of things that I was expecting or like wanting, and it did not fulfill that for me. So.
So quick callback before we like really jump into what like the meat of the conversation. We also did a podcast episode of the first SAO movie, Aria of a Starless Night, and we all really liked that movie.
What were our ratings for that?
So like they were like
Mine was
8.
like an 8.
I need
8 nines.
I need to rate that. I just watched it after
Oh, really?
today
Oh,
at work. I was
And?
watching it. I liked it a lot, and so
progressive.
I think
Yeah,
that
it's
made this
progressive.
even more
Progressive?
disappointing.
Oh,
Is because I
8.5,
liked the
yeah,
first
that's
one
what I
so
rated.
much. I was like,
yeah.
this next one is going to be even better. Like it has to be. And so this is like even more of a letdown. So
So it seems that SAO is continuing its trend of the first thing being really good and the rest of the stuff being not so good.
I think it's kind of repeating the cycle of like, that's the thing is like, I like the first movie because it didn't make Asuna like a wimp. It had the beginning it refreshed her as the strong girl again. And like feminine, like the strong female protagonist. I was like, I love that. And then here it's like, she's crying already. I'm scared, I'm sad, I'm alone. There's a ghost.
Okay, I want to jump into that because before we started recording, that was being brought up, and I do not agree with that sentiment. Here's why. So, in the movie, when she falls down, yes, she's scared, she's alone, she just fell through a trap, and she lost her sword. And in this death game, that's a pseudo-death sentence, being thrown down without a weapon. That's terrifying. If you don't break down even a little bit, then...
Well, it was
But
it
here's
was
the
only
thing.
2 months in.
But here's the
They'd only
thing.
been planning
Yes,
for 2 months.
exactly.
Sure, but here's the thing about that. What did she do? Did she stay there until Kirito came around? No. She
took action.
She rearmed, she took up her rapier, and then she started grinding the shrews.
Okay, but
Yeah.
she wanted Kirito to come save her.
But it was only
But
2 months, and I
only
agree
been
with
2 months
Skyler
in.
on this. I agree with Skyler on this.
So at that point, it was like, and where you didn't get enough Asuna, it was only Asuna. There were only a few scenes really where there wasn't Asuna, and that was essentially Kirito like making sure that she's okay after she just did something.
Okay, but
I
like,
just felt compared to the first movie. Like,
why
Yeah.
was Kirito in this movie at
Yes,
all?
exactly.
Okay,
Agreed.
Like,
That
and
kicks in.
after a certain point, anytime he was there, he was just there to fill in fan service. So like, oh, that's Sword Art Online. You can't throw that one without Kirito in there. There's no reason for him to be in any of these scenes at all. Maybe the fight scene at the end.
So
maybe
yeah,
that's it.
agreed.
Going back to Asuna real quick, Asuna real quick. In the first movie, I really liked Asuna's character progression,
Yes.
and that she wasn't always amazing. You find out at the beginning she's uncertain. She knows she doesn't quite have the skill set to measure up. But what does she do? She goes at it. She learns. She gets better. She improves. She becomes a lot more confident by the end of the movie. I love that. Through this one, I felt like her character was static, and there was no real growth or development. And that
there was
bothered me.
Significant conversations where Kirito just took over. Like it
Right.
wasn't about her at all.
I felt like in this,
Right?
Kirito actually was holding her back, which is what I feel like in the show. At least this was my impression of the show. They meet for the first boss raid. They beat the boss. He goes off alone, tells her that if she ever gets the opportunity to join a guild, that she should take it.
Yes.
And then
yes.
it seems like the next time we see them, they have not seen each other for a while. It's not like they probably run into each other on like boss fights or other things, but like they have not been together 24/7 this whole time. But she's gone on her own journey, come out, got into this very good guild, and like risen. Like he even talks about like who knew Asuna was gonna become like a boss, like you know.
I know, right? She comes in like a storm. And so, I looked this up because this is the most important thing I could think of on the timeline. That event where they met up again on the grassy field and do the thing in preparation, that was a year after the events of this movie.
Yeah.
1 year. And they're like, he's hyper stalkering Asuna this whole movie.
Yeah.
Like, there's
And
no
there's
reason.
a lot of touching.
Yeah,
and
a lot
like,
of touching.
hand-holding.
It kind of made it more creepy in this one. Like,
Right?
yeah, I was like,
I was like, I wanted to see her kind of like them do like a brief sojourn where like they both go on their own paths and then they get to come back. I wanted this movie to be all about Asuna because I really did feel like Kirito took away from her progression.
And I feel like this movie I feel like the trilogy, like when it was advertised, was supposed to be like
Asuna.
SAOs, you've never seen it before from Asuna's perspective, but now it's like they're throwing in stuff that doesn't make sense. But literally the whole entire movie, I was just thinking, how are they going to make this make sense with the show unless they're not going to? And this is just like an alternate timeline. But I wouldn't like that either because I like the original show and how it happened.
Let me throw in a couple of things. I'll have to double check that this is in the show, but I'm pretty sure that in the original show, when Kirito is talking to Agil, the item guy, that he kind of comments was like, you two used to get along really well. Why are you so frosty with each other now? Kind of referencing back to this. Number two, in terms of like what this movie is about, the theme of this movie seemed to be about her trusting her allies and letting them go in a way. And you see this with three different people. You see this with Kirito, you see this with the information broker, and you see this with her friend. Where essentially the theme that I saw 3 times with it is it's like, hey, look, I care about you a lot. I want to like help you, protect you, do these things, but I need to let you go to be your own person and do the thing that you need to do.
But that's not what I came into this movie for. I came into this movie for 2 very specific things. One, more Aincrad. I wanted more of this sneaking world, explored, fleshed out, whatever, through Asuna's eyes, right? The other thing is I want her and Mito to like fix their relationship or have more clashes or stuff. And that was the most briefest thing in this movie.
Can you touch on
I just glazed over it like a freaking donut.
Yes, I'm in the exact opposite camp because I hate Mito. I hate her character. She's the part about the first movie I hated the most because number one, she's not canon. She's not in the manga. She's not canon. And number two, she's super uninteresting to me.
Yeah.
Like
I like the size.
she's the girl who she got Asuna into the game and now she feels bad and that whoop-de-doo. Like I if she died this movie, I would have been happy. I'd have been like, yeah, we don't have to see her again.
I think Asuna would be torn about it. Like, I'd be down for that too.
I'm sure that she dies like in the 3rd movie.
Ah.
Because like they never see her again.
Let's hope so.
I hope
Yeah,
that she does, just for like the character.
I hate her character.
I thought she was going to die when she, like, in the first movie when she fell off the cliff. Because then it would have been like, oh, it makes sense why she never brought her up in the TV
Yeah.
show because she died. And it's like, it's not like you go up to people and be
She
like,
did.
my friend died. It's like,
yeah.
It's not something brought up in casual conversation.
Yeah, I was talking with Sonny a little bit before the movie, and I was mentioning was like because she's not canon, I'm expecting her to die. I just don't know when.
Right.
Yeah,
Can
same.
we
Well,
touch
they-
on something that she said? Okay, this line of dialogue that she had, this whole thought reasoning, bugged the crap out of me when she brought it up. It's when Asuna goes and finds her again. She's like, "Hey, coming up with the boss raid," and her response is, "I don't want to betray anybody ever again, so I can never go on the front lines." And I'm like,
Then don't!
"That's the stupidest reasoning I've ever heard."
Yeah, I thought that too. I thought
Okay.
that too. But we're not. Hold on, wait. We're not trying to shut Braydn down. Braydn, what about her do you like? Like, what about her? Because you're the person here who likes Mito's character.
Oh
like,
no, I
what
just
about
like
her
the
do you
interaction.
enjoy?
Like that was an addition to Asuna's character. That's the kind of stuff we wanted from the
Yeah,
show.
I liked
Was Mito.
Mito. I liked.
And so
her
this person that comes in
function.
and abandons her, there's a conversation there about friendship and abandonment and repairing something like that. Because that was a traumatic experience for both of them, and they both reacted in different ways. Like that's something you can explore. You can get emotionally.
I felt like
Okay.
they butchered that opportunity in
They
this show.
did.
Yes.
Okay.
They said
I-
basically 2 words in their scuffle in here.
Right.
And they said, well, all right, well, they're all right. It's not great. I'm like, yeah, no, you're right, but get into it. Give me stuff from there.
Okay, I see where you're coming from with that now.
Yes.
I see what you mean. Like,
So,
it's
like-
an opportunity to develop Asuna's character more.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
if Mito had died, that still is an opportunity for Asuna to develop more. But where they're just kind of like, just weaving her back in. It's like, okay, no, everything's fine now. You fought once and did not talk at all.
Yeah.
That the conversation is what I wanted to have, and they're just ignoring it.
Okay, fair. Can I call back to something Bridget brought up, which is the mind-blowing pacing of these 3 movies, right? Like, so they've announced a trilogy, so they've announced
Yes.
3 movies.
Oh,
The first
no.
movie was like the first floor, and all of us when we walked out of that movie were like, man, what are they going to do for the next 2? And then this one is floor 4 and 5? Okay. So like,
One movie left.
here's my theory. I'm calling it now. At the end of the 3rd movie that comes out in 2 years, they're gonna announce the next trilogy. Because there's no way they could go this slow.
Or Brett, is it going to be movie 3 part 1?
Oh, no. The attack of the Attack on Titan mentality.
So to give a bit of credence
gosh.
to Brett's theory, the light novel for SAO Progressive 1 ends with Kirito and Asuna walking out of the floor for floor 3 into floor 4. That is where light novel 1 ends.
Oh, wow. So they didn't even follow the
So no. So light novel 2 picks up from there, and this is the second movie.
Okay. Now, I did want to hit on something with the pacing, just the writing in general. Did anybody else feel like it was kind of disjointed? Is the word that comes to mind? I mean, I felt like they tried to tie the separate story beats together, but I felt like it was a weak point. It was just kind of like,
Yeah, the Gil, the beeline thing. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care.
It was the A line, and I think that's the problem. It was the A line of the whole movie, and it's like, that is a weak plot. That's
Like-
a pretty weak plot.
We don't care about any of those characters. They
Yeah.
didn't present anything interesting for us, and we have to defend them with this not letting them take this flag, I guess.
The
Yeah.
thing is about
Right.
this is that yes, I agree that the pacing is off, is because this doesn't feel like your standard movie, because this one felt like it was more setting up for the rest of the series almost. Because like there are
You mean the next 9 movies?
or something. Because it's like there are conflicts that is alluded to in the show that you don't ever see. But, you know, the plot points that they're talking about in especially the second movie is setting up those conflicts and those issues that are going to pop up, is what I'm imagining. One of them is going to be like the raid against the Laughing Coffin PK Guild.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like I said, it feels like this was setting that up, not just
Now, that is a good timeline note, because I did look at the timeline of the Laughing Coffin as well, and they're not established yet.
Correct.
That'll happen in the next couple months or so after this event.
Yeah.
But they're just PKers, loose guild.
And I don't.
They've started the thought of organizing because the symbol they made that's LC.
Yeah.
So they made the LC like they're starting to organize. But yeah. You're right.
And even
You're
the
right.
guild that Asuna eventually joins, I don't think
Knights
that.
of the Blood Oath.
Yeah, Knights of the Blood Oath.
they're
I don't
not.
even
That's
think
also
that.
like in the white and red.
Possibly,
No.
but I don't think that it's officially
in the
been
time,
founded
they don't
yet.
establish till like October.
Oh, no, like during
next
the
year.
Yeah.
reading restaurant the New Year's, it felt like there was guy wearing
Well, that's
white and
cool.
red.
That's
I was
cool
like,
foreshadowing, but it's
Yeah,
it's
right,
not a
yeah.
big
It's
deal.
like-
Yeah, it has a ways to go before even that starts to pick up.
Right.
And that's the point. Like, unless there's 9 more movies, this is slower than snail's pace, which
Yes.
I was fine with during the first movie.
Yeah.
But during this movie, it's like, to be honest, like, I liked the movie, but it's almost like nothing happened.
Nothing
And,
did
like,
happen.
I was there in Einkrad, so I was happy. But at the same time, I was like,
That's pretty cool.
let's get some meat going.
I feel like
Okay.
there was a lot of content. Like, okay, for example, the swimsuit sword fight. I'm kind of like,
That was so.
what is this contributing
Why?
to the over? Like, this is it's just there. It's
That
like,
whole scene, I was
Fan service.
Fan service, yes, but that
yes.
was the other part of letting go that I was kind of mentioning, because she did the same thing with the other character later. Like, the exact same thing was like, okay, duel. Like, let me show you how much I've grown, and that you can stand on your own. Or, in this case, that I can stand on my own.
I would agree if there weren't like 47 better ways to do
I
it.
agree. I'm not disagreeing with
Yeah,
that. I'm
I
just
see what you're
saying.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
And just taking too much time.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
So, and yeah, the pacing that I get from this is it's just like, if you're expecting fast pace, if the second movie is an indicator, it's not going to be fast. It's going to be slow.
Not even
I
fast,
mostly just
just
like the
normal.
fighting scene. That's
Just-
about it.
normal.
Honestly, that's exactly like
Watch.
if I just focus, that's it.
You know what, Braydn? I think you're right. It's going to be the final movie, part 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yep.
God.
Legit.
Really?
No.
And I think, what I'm scared about is that they've shown that they will take the teeniest amount of plot and like stretch it as far as they can to make a whole movie out of it. And I'm like, oh man.
The Hobbit.
The
Yes.
The Hobbit, 3 movies.
Oh.
See, if they decide to tempo down, there is a stir of like, all right, this is what the guilds are like and those kind of discussions in Minecraft. Sure, right? There's some flavor there. That's just not how they introduce the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And really whiplash to be in this.
Yeah.
this episode.
I had
Yes, and
expectations
that's what I'm saying.
that they set, and they didn't follow.
They didn't fall for it.
Yeah, I would love to just watch a bunch of movies about nothing in Einkrad because that's fun, but don't make it like mess with the main story. Make it enrich the main story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not mess
Yeah.
with, like, literally the entire show, the entire movie, the only thing I was thinking was, how is this gonna work? Like,
Yeah. No, I agree. I was like, this has to be like an alternate timeline.
There are so
Yeah.
many stories they could tell from Einkrad because there were a
Yeah.
lot of players, right?
Well, and
So
there
just
were a
follow
lot of
another
time
player.
jumps too.
Yeah.
So like there was
Yeah.
that's why I was expecting to see Austin as like, you know, her like, you know, leaving Kirito and then them parting ways and her just growing a ton and
Yeah,
like
I thought it was
all of a
gonna be
sudden
all about
being,
her journey.
and then they can reunite and I'm like, oh, that would have been so cool.
Because
But
yeah,
then
it meets at that moment where we saw it in the anime and boom, shaboom.
Right.
Oh, that's
Look,
how it
there's-
happened.
Again,
Yeah.
so many time jumps in the anime show that they could have used to be like, this is a blank that we can do whatever we want with because no one knows what happened in that blank.
And I think
mean,
cognitively, the first movie lined up so well with what we already knew about SAO up to that point.
Which is
Yeah.
why
Where
it's so
this
good.
one, it was so jarring to be like, oh, this kind of really messes with what I know about the world, and it was hard to overcome that. Is that what
Yeah,
it is?
yeah,
Yeah.
no, that was it.
I guess for me that wasn't as much of an issue because I'm a little bit more familiar with the manga light novel version of SAO, and so like seeing more of the information broker, like she is actually a big part of the story, and even just the normal SAO.
I liked her. She
But
wasn't.
she's
Again, I had
not in the
problems
show.
with her.
I feel like
She's,
she's
like,
changed
barely
quite a
in
bit
the
from
show.
like the show.
I don't
Well,
even
she
remember
also
her.
acts differently with Asuna. Like even
Right.
then, like there's this whole dynamic that they I don't think that they've gotten into quite yet about, you know, her relationship with both Kirito and Asuna.
I felt like when I first saw her in this movie, I was like, that's a whole different character. Like,
I don't even remember her from the show, to be
Was
honest.
she in it?
She appears once.
She's once
For the,
once in the show.
yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
And that's what I mean. Like,
Okay.
she's a major character in the original SAO series.
That was
but
great.
she's
I
not-
had no problem
That
with
didn't
her.
bother me. It
Yeah.
was the other stuff.
But I'm bringing up where it's like
Right.
because of that familiarity, seeing some of these things pop up, it's like okay, I can track and I can see where this is going. It is slower, but because I have that extended knowledge, it wasn't as jarring for me.
Okay.
So I want us to pivot a little bit. We're throwing some shade down on the movie, and I think there is shade to be thrown. But I want to start talking about a couple things we liked, and I want to start off by saying that one of the things I noticed was that during the movie, the animation was not that great for the first half of the movie, and I was super confused. I was like, wait a second, the animation in the first movie was so much better. Like there were so many moments I was like, that wasn't very good. And then
And then the
action.
the golem fight.
golem fight.
The 15-minute golem fight
Yes.
that was absolute fire. That
Yes.
whole thing was sick. And I was
Yeah.
like,
So good.
this is where all the
This is what I
time...
like. This is why I watch Sword Online.
This is well no, that's where all the budget and time
Yeah.
and resources
Right.
went is into that sequence.
I felt like that was such a creative idea for a boss fight. Too.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, wow, it pulled me in. Creative mechanics. Oh my gosh.
I think they're just
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
remake the movies, and every single movie is just one level every single time. And each one they're gonna
Yes.
showcase one new boss.
So
one new
many.
boss.
You know what?
I'm in. Please take my money.
I'm there.
Yeah,
I'm in.
yeah.
Sign me up.
I mean,
no matter
I will
how
watch them.
yeah,
we
no matter
already
how boring
established
each
that.
movie is, sign me up for those boss fights, man.
Yeah,
That was
that's straight up.
sick.
And
Yeah.
that's again what I'm saying. And I said this in previous discussions that I have at ICA, where it's like if they did like a series or something where they went through every dungeon, I would watch it. And hey, it sounds like I'm getting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
Careful what you wish for.
Maybe I'm forgetful. What was that whole underwater cavern at the beginning? I was
Yeah,
like,
what was that?
That was like, and it was not the same animation. Too. I was like, this is
no.
not.
it's like where? And then
What is
I think I already forgot what happened right after that. But like I just blanked.
It
It's
just showed Aincrad all of a sudden. I was like, okay, that looks normal. But then that whole like intro scene, I was like,
Yeah. I was
did they
like, are they
change
gonna
the
do-
animation
Are
style?
they
What's
gonna do
happening?
something?
I felt like I was actually swimming. It's like almost like
I was like, is
it's
Asuna
okay.
also
Well,
gonna be there?
the
Like,
first
in the water.
the boss that they were at was like a seahorse unicorn.
That's right.
Okay.
I get
I
it.
don't know. I don't know. I'm just making stuff
I
up.
don't know.
So what? Okay, what did people like about the movie? Our scores weren't all at one.
The music.
The music was amazing.
I love the music.
They do.
I
good.
love to download the soundtrack whenever it comes on Apple Music.
I liked that it was in Aincrad.
Yeah. Yep.
I
And I liked that Asuna was in it.
yeah.
I will toss in something because so all the shit I could possibly do. There were some funny moments. I laughed.
Yeah,
Once or
there was.
twice.
Oh, the part with Kirito behind the tree after they have their duel and he's just like,
Like, well, you were fighting, so I couldn't
Okay.
come out then.
I thought that would.
That was pretty derpy. I love it.
Well, when she silenced Kirito,
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
with
yeah.
the ghost.
Yet,
Yeah.
yes,
Yet.
Russian.
I
Interesting.
liked in the Golem fight where it's like, he has two of them, and she goes, two arms.
pretty
It's
normal.
pretty
Yeah.
standard. Like that cracked me up.
well,
Yeah.
she teased him again when the first foot came out. I
She's
was
like, there's
hey.
another one.
I was scared if there's like a fifth one came out. I was like,
What's happening?
Well, I was thinking golems could have 4 arms, right? Machamp.
Oh, yes.
okay.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, okay, wait. One weird thing. They seem to make a big deal about Kirito and the information broker dodging the green cloud that came from the boss's legs.
Yes.
But then the other people got hit by it, and I'm like waiting for them to get poisoned. And then
Yeah.
nothing happened.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
maybe it was just like a false mechanic, like a red herring. I don't know.
Oh, can I tell you my idea?
Yeah?
Well, okay, so you know how one of our biggest beefs with the end of the first arc of SAO is how Asuna just becomes unfrozen? Her friend gave her the necklace that is anti-paralyzing.
Okay.
So I would like immediately when that happened, they were like, "Oh, it's anti-poison and anti-paralyzing." I was like, "Oh my gosh, they're explaining. They're trying to explain
They're-
how she was able to magically become unparalyzed to throw herself in front of Kirito. That there's no other explanation why they would put that in there. I don't know.
They're pulling a Rogue One.
Yeah.
Why would you design an exhaust port to the center of the Death Star? In Rogue One, they just answer the question.
Yeah, no, they heard. So I'm also wondering if they will like have a Akihiko Kaiba have a good explanation also for doing what he did.
Maybe in the 12th movie.
Yeah, maybe.
Just watch
Give it some time.
It's just gonna be all him.
Yeah.
Ditch all these other fools.
Hey, you thought this was Asuna's story? No.
70s.
No, stupid. It's like about Asuna.
45 more
It's not like we said we were gonna do that or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's my canon offering.
Nice.
Okay.
That's good. That's good.
Because that would make
I like
sense.
that.
I mean, as always, love seeing just Kirito and Asuna. And even though I don't understand how they're so close in this movie when it seems like they're not close later and then they get close again, it doesn't matter because I got to see Kirito and Asuna together.
Yeah.
So I'm going to
True
double
fact.
down on that, which is like I got plenty of Asuna. Like all the major
Double
fights
down.
had Asuna, and I did enjoy seeing Kirito and Asuna because it's always the best when those two are both there. But I was surprised at how intimate they already were. Cause it was like,
Very fast.
and even for me, it felt like, okay, this is a little bit too much considering the stage that they're at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, again, that's where it started messing with the canon, and that more than anything in this was like, this does not make any sense. They were supposed to have more of a separation, and then they would come back and then get close. But now it's like she's been like caressing his hair.
Yeah.
And, like,
gosh.
I was like, how can they go back to what they are unless they have some big blow up? But then they don't hate each other enough for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and
So
also
I don't understand.
And also, Kirito just like his character didn't make any sense because it basically the whole reason why he went off by himself was the whole thing with the black cat and like the trauma, and he's like, I can't get close to anyone anymore, and then all of a sudden like a couple minutes, unless this is before the black
This is
cat.
before
This
the
is
Black
before.
Cats.
Oh,
Black
okay.
Cat's is
All
on
right. I guess that's not as bad. But he also was like,
it is later, so yeah.
But
so-
he even at the beginning of SAO in the show, he was like, that's why he turned down Klein, was because he was like, I want to be a solo player, whatever. Nobody likes me, and so it just didn't make sense how he was like, yeah, me and Asuna are partners now, and it like never.
And he like said partners the whole time. And the information broker was like, Asuna, Kirito has you. And it was a big moment. And it's like, wait a second. What?
It's like, what?
Yeah.
What? Didn't make any
Yeah.
sense of his character.
Which again was like, that's why I was like, is this an alternate timeline? Like, what if Asuna and Kirito just never parted ways? They just always
Maybe.
stayed together.
So even in the first movie, there was a slight discrepancy between the way things lined up, and so for the second one, because it seems like, and again, where I mentioned it's like in the end of the light novel for the first one, they both walk out of the third floor boss together, whereas in SAO1, they walk out of the first floor boss together when that didn't happen in the original SAO series.
Yes, true.
And so I'm wondering, I'm going to need to go and read, the stuff for this movie just to make sure it's like, okay, did they just kind of rearrange things a little bit?
Okay.
But even for like them getting like eventually separated, it is amazing how much a relationship changes when someone just becomes busy and you just stop talking with each other.
Okay.
Because what happens is that they are now focused on this one thing, they're doing their thing, and then if you also get busy and you're hyper focused on something, you're going down two very different paths, and then when you cross each other again, depending on how significant those things are that you've been chasing and how much has it affected you, you change a lot.
Okay. That's how the third movie's going to end, with them having their separation. It's going to leave it on a cliffhanger, so you really want to come back for the next three.
Oh.
And that's going to be Asuna's path in the Knights of the Blood Oath.
That's what I signed up for.
Yeah, that's
that.
I thought that's what this was.
That's a story we want.
Next movie.
So,
Blood
Braydn, you gave it such a low score.
Yeah.
Like, what are some of the other things that made you like hate it so much?
Let me put it this way: when Kirito's on the screen, I was angry.
Okay.
Yep.
The Golem made me happy, but the rest of it was just dumpster fire to me. There's no reason he should have been in any part of this movie.
And you know what? I don't like the fan service that they threw in with it.
I don't like the fan
the
service
whole
either.
butt shot with her wiggling.
I
I'm
know, I was like,
what's
There has to be
what's
one.
the point?
There has to be one.
At least one.
It's gotta be there.
there was no boob grab.
That's
True.
They had to replace it with something.
I was disappointed.
Right? Everyone was waiting for it. Especially there was a bath scene, and that's always what happens.
Yeah.
So I was prepped for
messed
it,
up.
and then it didn't happen.
No, instead we got swimsuit sword fight.
Yeah, which is different, but okay.
But what else? What else, Braydn? What else?
So, as long as Kirito on the screen is unhappy, the main line of the guilds made no sense and was not interesting at all. Even actually the golem fight right at the end of that thing, who shows up? Nito. For no reason into a boss room that closes when they're done fighting or when in the middle of a fight. That is canon.
You got to admit that you knew she was going to show up, right?
Yeah.
I was hoping not, because I hope the conversation could be resolved in the third movie, because they're obviously just tossing off Ozzy to the side of this movie.
Well, my hope is if she showed up, she was going to show up before everybody went into the boss room.
Yes.
Join up the group then.
Yes.
No.
So then, at that point, when she showed up, then she pissed me off whenever she was on screen.
Yeah.
Because, I just don't get why they're making these choices. I had my precious characters, and they suck now, and I hate them.
Because they got to draw it out for the money. The money.
No, Dungeons and Dragons, you punks. We'll protest. There's dozens of us.
More than that.
Oh my gosh.
No, that's it. That's all I had. I just hated the whole movie.
Randomly.
Will you watch the third one though?
No.
With us?
Why would I?
With us?
You have to go with us.
Want me to, but
We have to
we
see
had
all
this
15
discussion.
of them together.
We had a discussion about the slime movie. I hate slime so much. It's fun watching you guys, but I just don't want to watch that crap.
You should have.
He invited me.
You should have watched it to cringe at it.
I don't want to cringe.
I wanted to watch
We'll
it
talk
with
about
Braydn just to watch Braydn.
if you want us to talk about the slime movie, Sonny and I went and saw it. We can do that.
Okay. All right. Yeah, sounds good. Sonny, what were you gonna say?
Wait, question. Do they the NPCs always make good food? I thought that was iffy food, and then they had to make their own.
Right?
Food.
Oh, yeah,
Because he had
sure.
cream, and it was significant in the first.
Apparently,
Yeah.
NPC food was
episode.
bad until
Wait,
he
are you
made it.
thinking of Log Horizon? 'Cause
No.
that happened.
No, but in
also
here,
yes, but no.
but also was just eating plain bread or something like that.
Yeah, it's like, where do they get
changes
money?
as you go up the floors.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
it
I
gets
thought
better.
she
the-
made the nice food in the later.
So what happens
She
is
does.
that as
But
you go,
home
she
cooking,
wants to
though.
learn cooking.
But I'm saying, I don't remember food being a major part of the show, to be honest. I don't remember NPCs later bringing out nice
Right.
food.
You don't remember Kirito's sandwich? Probably the most important moment of the whole
Sandwich?
series?
Oh my
His
god!
sandwich?
Yeah, the sandwich.
the
that
greatest
she
tragedy of
made.
SAO.
And then when she figures out how to make soy sauce, and he's like, "This is soy sauce!" It's adorable. I love that. Oh, or when he drops the sandwich, and I know it
like I said, the
Yeah, he's
greatest
like,
tragedy of SAO.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
And then it
sandwich.
also gives him his epiphany.
There's full memes about the
I
sandwich.
feel like they had to make this food, and I feel like the food and the NPCs weren't.
Apparently,
So-
it happens later. Everything happens later.
So what it is
Nothing
that as
happens
you
now.
progress through the floors, there's different meals and foods available on the different floors. And on the first floor, all the food is trash.
But what happened was when Asuna was with Kirito? When was that? The whole.
That was
What?
after she joined Knights of the Blood.
What
Oath.
floor
That
was that?
It was way down.
So there was no good food before
I
then.
guess
It
not.
was,
That was
it was
big.
like
So-
subpar.
I mean, to note something, that was episode 5, is when they meet up on the glass field of the anime.
And they're on
I was
like,
like,
So it's early in the show, but way late in the
Right.
timeline.
Yeah, it's like 2 years later.
yeah, they're like floor 70. They're like floor 74 or
Something
something.
like that, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, so this is definitely nothing happened in this movie.
Yeah.
A golem fight.
Yes.
Golem
That
fight.
boss fight,
That
though.
Yeah.
boss fight, though.
Besides that,
there was moments
nothing.
in that one I was blinded and dazzled by whatever the crap they were throwing on that screen, because sometimes some of those shots were a little bit much.
I was just still surprised. Level 5? That was
Yeah,
intense.
I was like, that seems like a really hard boss.
But it was a really
If I
cool
played,
boss.
once I played that game, I'd be like,
But also, okay. In defense, there was only 9 of them. Normally, there's 30 people.
Yeah,
There's only 9 of them, so they were a really low-man team. And they mentioned a milestone boss. So a lot of times in video games, it's like level 5, level 10, level 20. Those are big deals.
The other thing about it is they had 2 days for this.
Yeah.
They did
Because
a lot of
normally,
prep.
they get some intel, they learn some things, a group
Yeah.
goes in, they
Scouts out.
Scouts out.
I guess maybe I'm just dumb. I was like, how did they figure out so fast the pattern?
dash, dash.
They play a lot of video games.
Well, the thing is that the
Come
people
on.
who figured out the main mechanics were the 2 beaters, essentially, the people who played the
Yeah.
beta. And so these are the hardcore gamers.
True.
I loved everything about the boss fight, the mechanics, you mentioned. Andrew.
Yeah.
I love the mechanics, how they changed the different health gates. because that's totally a thing in MMORPGs.
Oh yeah.
I loved that all of the mechanics of the boss are mechanics that I could see in a raid that I would play, and it was. I loved it the whole way through. The moving crit
The music, that was where I keyed in the music, was that theme song. That was so cool.
SAO boss music has always been good.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is one thing that they do flawlessly.
Absolutely.
Never lose
Always.
that.
Actually, I think you made this point earlier where you didn't have the same emotional reaction to this movie, because I remember when we were in the theaters for the first movie. Alright, the Starless Night, the theme music started playing, and I was I got a little emotional. I was oh my gosh, it's so exciting. I didn't have a moment like that during this movie.
Yeah.
I guess, I really didn't have that moment during this movie.
Well, it's because we brought this up earlier. There wasn't that callback.
Yeah, there was no nostalgia factor because it was just making crap up.
Yeah, so it's
It's all
if
new
we-
stuff that
so-
didn't.
Yeah, so it's if we hit the progressive movie, however many movies it takes, to where he finally pulls out his dual wielding, I imagine that all of a sudden we'll be oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And he had an old sword in this one. He didn't
He
have
didn't
the
have this cool
elucidator.
outfit either.
Or his-
That's
yeah.
how you know it's old school Kirito, is because he looks like a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
But that's my point, where it's when that moment happens, if it happens in the movies, I guarantee we're all going to lose our minds. It's
That'll be cool. Actually, I hope in the third movie, okay, granted they're supposed to be about Asuna, but I would love to see the moment Kirito gets dual wielding.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sick.
Just do an hour half of that. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are so many things that I could see as movies. Should we just send them a list? It's these are the things that you guys need to make movies about
Well,
specifically.
We'll just acquire the studio and
Let me pull that.
I'm sure they
there
get
were-
so much bad.
There were 4 or 5 studios associated with this movie, right?
Oh wow.
In the intro credits.
Yeah, I
remember?
saw there was a lot.
Oh, that's
They were-
right. I couldn't forget the intro credits. They went on forever.
Yeah.
Okay, for some reason there were 20 minutes of previews at this one.
Yeah.
Oh
What
gosh.
the heck?
I think it was
There
just
was
I think
so many
it's
about
the
that.
theater.
Yeah.
Because the slant was the same way.
There were way too many
Cinemark
previews
just
of this thing.
cuts it straight at the time showtime.
So note to viewers, if you're going to watch this in the theater, don't watch it in a megaplex. You don't want a bunch of previews.
They'll ring you with ads.
But if you love previews, megaplex is the place for you.
if you're on time.
There was
Yeah.
We can
Yeah.
just be a little late next time.
way too many. Sure, we got
Okay.
it.
Smokes, that's a lot.
That's it.
Yeah.
Wait.
Any other thoughts on this movie?
The third one
I
better be
liked it.
better.
The
Yeah.
third
Yeah.
one better be better.
I liked it.
Skylar liked it. I liked it too. I wasn't
It
enamored.
passes my guide,
It was
but
decent.
It was
Yes.
over a 5 for me. I wanted to finish it. But
Yeah.
would I watch it again alone?
No.
No.
I will watch the fight scene again.
Yes, I would
Just
watch
the
that
fight
alone.
scene.
Yep.
But I would watch the first movie. I would watch again.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I
I
just watched
actually-
it the first time today.
Someone
but I would
timestamp
watch
that
it
for
again.
me.
I did like the first movie. I actually did lower my rating though from when we saw it originally.
Oh,
What'd you
okay.
lower to?
Just like an 8.5.
Okay.
Because you
or
had like
an
a
8.
9 or a 10. didn't
I gave
you?
it like a 9. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
like
gave
it.
it 8.5.
Yeah.
For me, both progressive movies are an 8.5.
All right.
There you go.
Consistency.
Yeah.
Yay.
Okay.
There's the same level for you.
Yeah.
So there we go. There's our discussion on the Scherzo of the Deep Night. Or
Scherzo of the
Scherzo of Deep Night.
Here's the thing.
Schizophrenic.
They changed the name on me from the first time I saw the ad from Japan, I think. Anyway, that's our discussion. Thanks for joining us on this special bonus episode of 3 out of 10 Anime. You can check out a bunch of other episodes. You can check out our personal enjoyment rubrics. You can check out our technical rubric on our website, 310anime.com, 310anime.com. We even have a TikTok that Bridget runs. Bridget's the behind-the-scenes goat of the podcast here. Again, check out our friends on That Time I Was Reincarnated as a Podcaster, who we saw at the movie. And maybe check out some of our other episodes. Maybe go listen to the Sword Art Online episode we did. Very highly watched and rated. Skylar, what's an episode you think people should go watch from our podcast?
I mean, they're all good, but if I had to pick one, go check out one of our other movie reviews. That would include Bell or even Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah, maybe watch Jujutsu Kaisen before the new season comes out this year.
It's true.
That would be cool. Anyway, Most of us think you should go watch the movie. Go check it out. Some of us don't. What do you think? Leave your comments down in the comments section. Tell us what you thought of the movie. What would you rate it 1 to 10? And do you think other people should watch it? But that's all we have for now. We'll check in for you. Coming out season 3 very soon for 3 out of 10 anime. Thanks so much, Johnny.
Good.
Bye.
Goodbye.
SAO. Wait. Scherzo? How do you say it? Scherzo. What's the second part?
We should probably start out with the intro. I think it's called Scherzo of the
Of
Dark.
the night or something
Dark
like that?
poem.
I think
Something
it
like
was,
that.
yeah,
Well, they changed the title like 4 times.
Oh yeah, that doesn't make it easy.
Of a Deep Night.
Of a Dark-
It's
oh,
I got deep.
Scherzo.
Scherzo of a Deep
It's a
Night.
musical term.
Alright.
Scherzo.
Alright, I'll cut that part.
Just start over the intro.
Alright, I'll start over.